The snow was falling in thick, heavy flakes as I stood on the porch with my suitcase in hand. Behind me, the warmth of the house spilled out through the open door, along with the smell of cinnamon and pine. Inside I could hear laughter, Christmas music, the clinking of glasses. And I could hear my mother-in-law's voice, sharp and final. "You need to leave. Before you ruin Christmas for everyone." My husband, Tyler, stood behind her in the doorway, his face pale but silent. Our 3-year-old daughter, Lily, was upstairs sleeping, unaware that her mother was being thrown out into a snowstorm on Christmas Eve. "Please," I said, my voice shaking. "It's Christmas Eve. There's a blizzard warning. Just let me stay until morning." "Should have thought of that before you embarrassed this family," Helen said, crossing her arms. She was wearing the red cashmere sweater I'd given her last Christmas, the irony not lost on me. "I don't know what you were thinking, making such a scene at dinner. But I won't have that kind of drama in my home." Or home. Those words burned more than the cold wind hitting my face. "Tyler," I said, looking past Helen to my husband. "Please. Tell her what really happened. You know I didn't." "Maybe you should go stay with your sister for the night," he said quietly, not meeting my eyes. "Let everyone cool down. We'll talk tomorrow. My sister lives 4 hours away. The roads are closing. Tyler, please, just tell your mother the truth." But he didn't. He just stood there, letting his mother paint me as the villain, letting her throw me out into a blizzard because I'd dared to defend myself at Christmas dinner. What had I done that was so terrible? I'd confronted Tyler's brother, Sean, when he'd made a cruel joke about my job. I was a social worker, and Sean thought it was hilarious to suggest I only took the job because I liked feeling superior to poor people. When I'd calmly explained that I became a social worker because I grew up in foster care and wanted to help kids like I'd been, he'd laughed harder. "Oh, that explains so much. Tyler married a charity case." That's when I'd asked him to apologize. Not yelled, not made a scene, just asked for a simple apology. But Helen had erupted. How dare I demand an apology from her son? How dare I make everyone uncomfortable at Christmas dinner? How dare I bring my baggage into their family gathering? Tyler had sat there silent, while his mother and brother attacked me. And now he was standing there silent while she threw me out. "Fine," I said, picking up my suitcase. "I'll go. But Tyler, I'm taking Lily with me." "No, you're not," Helen said immediately. "Lily stays here, where it's warm and safe. You're not dragging a 3-year-old out into a blizzard because you can't control your temper. She's my daughter. And this is my house. And if you try to take her, I'll call the police and report you for child endangerment." Helen's eyes were cold. "Leave now, or I'll have you removed." I looked at Tyler one more time, waiting for him to stand up for me, to defend me, to be my husband. But he just looked away. So I walked down the porch steps into the snow, my suitcase wheels catching on the ice, my coat not nearly warm enough for the wind that was howling through the trees. Behind me I heard the door slam shut, the deadbolt click into place. I stood there in the driveway, snow soaking through my shoes, and pulled out my phone to call a car service. But there was no signal. The storm must have knocked out the cell towers. My car was parked at the end of the long driveway, but when I reached it, I found all 4 tires slashed. Someone had taken a knife to them, leaving them completely flat. Had to be Sean. He'd made comments earlier about teaching me a lesson about knowing my place. I was stranded. No phone service. No car. The nearest neighbor was 2 miles down the road. And in this storm, I'd freeze before I made it halfway. I had 2 choices. Knock on the door and beg Helen to let me back in, or find another way to survive the night. I chose option 3. I walked around the side of the house to the detached garage. It was where Tyler's father, Robert, used to keep his workshop before he passed away 3 years ago. Helen had left it mostly untouched, a shrine to her late husband. The door was locked, but I knew where Robert used to hide the spare key, inside a fake rock by the rhododendron bush. The garage was freezing, but it was shelter. I found Robert's old space heater, still working, and plugged it in. Found a sleeping bag in a storage bin. Made myself a nest in the corner and tried to stop shaking. That's when I started crying. Not because I was cold or scared, though I was both. But because my husband had let this happen. Had stood by while his mother threw me out. Had chosen them over me on Christmas Eve. 3 years of marriage. 3 years of bending over backward to fit into this family. 3 years of ignoring Helen's constant criticisms, Sean's cruel jokes, Tyler's weakness. And this was what I got. But as I sat there in Robert's workshop, surrounded by his tools and projects, something shifted inside me. I stopped crying, stopped feeling sorry for myself, and started getting angry. Helen had called this her house. But was it really? Pulled out my phone. Still no signal for calls, but I had downloaded documents before we'd driven up here, including the property deed for this house. I'd been reviewing it for estate planning purposes, something Tyler had asked me to help with months ago. I opened the PDF and read through it carefully by the light of my phone. And that's when I found it. The clause I'd noticed before but hadn't fully understood the implications of. When Robert died, he'd left the house in a life estate trust. Helen had the right to live here until her death. But the actual ownership, that had passed to Tyler. And when Tyler and I got married, because of how Washington state community property laws worked, I'd automatically become a 50% owner. This house wasn't Helen's. It was half mine. I started laughing. Actually laughing. Because the woman who'd just thrown me out of her house had just thrown me out of my own property. If this story is already hooking you, make sure you hit that subscribe button. What happens next is going to be absolutely wild. And you won't want to miss a single moment of how this Christmas nightmare turns into the ultimate vindication. The space heater was slowly warming the garage. I pulled the sleeping bag tighter around me and started making plans. Not revenge plans. I wasn't interested in petty payback. But I was interested in making sure Helen and Tyler understood exactly what they'd done. And exactly what the consequences were going to be. First thing tomorrow, I was going to need a lawyer. The property deed was clear, but I wanted expert confirmation of my rights. Then I was going to need to figure out custody. Helen had threatened to call the police if I took Lily, but Lily was my daughter. No court would keep a child from her mother, especially when the mother had done nothing wrong. But that would all have to wait until morning. For now, I needed to survive the night. I must have fallen asleep eventually, because I woke up to weak morning light filtering through the garage windows and someone pounding on the door. Hannah! Hannah, are you in there? Open up. It was Tyler. I checked my phone, 6:47 a.m. Christmas morning. I'd survived the night. I didn't answer. Hannah, please. I know you're in there. I saw footprints in the snow. I'm so sorry about last night. Mom was out of line. I should have stood up for you. Please just open the door so we can talk. I sat there, wrapped in the sleeping bag, and said nothing. Hannah, Lily's been asking for you. She woke up crying because you weren't here. Please. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Lily. My sweet girl. She must be so confused and scared. I stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. Tyler looked terrible. His hair was a mess, his eyes were red, and he was wearing the same clothes from last night. Thank God. I was so worried. Why didn't you answer your phone? No cell service. And my car tires were slashed. His face went white. What? Someone slashed all 4 of my tires while I was being thrown out of the house. Want to guess who? Sean wouldn't. Yes, he would. And he did. Check the driveway if you don't believe me. I grabbed my suitcase. Now I'm going to go upstairs, get my daughter, pack our things, and leave. Don't try to stop me. Leave. No. It's Christmas. We can work this out. I'll talk to my mother. Your mother threw me out in a blizzard, Tyler. Your brother slashed my tires. And you stood there and let it happen. There's nothing to work out. I was trying to keep the peace. You know how Mom gets. Yes, I know exactly how she gets. I've known for 3 years. And I've spent 3 years making excuses for her. For you. For all of it. I pushed past him. But I'm done. I'm taking Lily and we're leaving. He followed me toward the house. You can't just take her. Watch me. Helen was in the kitchen when we walked in, wearing a silk robe and making coffee like it was a normal Christmas morning. She looked up when she saw me, surprise flickering across her face. Hannah, I'm glad you came to your senses. Now about last night. Where's my daughter? Lily's upstairs. But before you go barging up there, we need to discuss your behavior. If you want to stay for Christmas, you need to apologize to Sean for making him uncomfortable. I'm not apologizing to anyone. And I'm not staying for Christmas. I'm taking Lily and leaving. Helen's expression hardened. I don't think so. Lily is perfectly fine here. In fact, I think she should stay with her grandmother for a few days. Give you time to calm down and think about how you want to be part of this family. Lily is my daughter, not yours. And this is my house. If you try to take her, I'll call the police. I'll tell them you abandoned her last night. That you're unstable. Mom, stop, Tyler said weakly. You can't keep Hannah from her own daughter. Can't I? She left last night. She didn't even fight to stay with her child. What kind of mother does that? I pulled out my phone and opened the property deed. The kind of mother who owns half this house. Silence. Helen stared at me. What are you talking about? This house. The one you keep calling yours. It's not. When Robert died, he left it in a life estate trust. You have the right to live here until you die. But the actual ownership passed to Tyler. And when Tyler and I got married in Washington, a community property state, I became a 50% owner. I showed her the deed. So this isn't your house, Helen. It's our house. Mine and Tyler's. You're just living here. Tyler's face had gone from white to gray. Hannah, I didn't realize. Of course you didn't. Because you never pay attention to legal details. That's why you asked me to review all the estate documents 3 months ago. And I did. Found this. I was going to talk to you about it, but then I gestured to the house. Then this happened. Helen snatched the phone from my hand, reading the deed with shaking hands. No, this can't be right. Robert would never. Robert knew exactly what he was doing. He protected your right to live here, but he made sure the assets stayed in the family. In Tyler's name. Your late husband was smarter than you gave him credit for. Get out. Helen's voice was shaking with rage. Get out of my house right now. It's not your house. And I'm not leaving without my daughter. I walked past her toward the stairs. If you take her, I'll never forgive you. Helen shouted. I'll never let you see this family again. Turn back. Good. Because after last night, I don't want to see this family again. Any of you. Tyler grabbed my arm. Hannah, please. Don't do this. Don't take Lily. Don't leave. We can figure this out. You had all night to figure it out, Tyler. You could have come out to the garage. Could have made sure I was okay. Could have stood up to your mother. But you didn't. You chose them over me. Again. Pulled my arm free. I'm done being your wife in name only. I'm done being the punching bag for your family. And I'm definitely done spending one more minute in this house. I went upstairs and found Lily in the guest room, playing with the dollhouse Tyler's parents had given her. She looked up when I entered, her little face lighting up. Mommy, it's Christmas. Santa came. I scooped her up, holding her tight. I know, baby. Did you have fun opening presents? But I missed you. Grandma said you had to go away for work. Did you finish your work? Yes, sweetheart. And now Mommy's going to take you on an adventure. How does that sound? An adventure on Christmas. The best kind of adventure. I packed our bags quickly. Lily's clothes, her favorite toys, the Christmas presents I'd brought for her. Tyler appeared in the doorway, watching. Where will you go? He asked quietly. A hotel. Then my sister's. Then I'll find us an apartment. I zipped the suitcase. Don't worry about us. We'll be fine. Hannah, please. Love you. I don't want to lose you. Then you should have acted like it last night. I picked up Lily, who wrapped her arms around my neck. I'll have my lawyer contact you about custody arrangements. And about the house. What about the house? I own half of it, Tyler. Which means I have a say in what happens to it. And right now, I'm not feeling very generous about letting your mother continue to live here rent-free while she treats me like garbage. His eyes widened. You wouldn't evict my mother. Watch me. Carried Lily downstairs. Helen was in the living room now, Sean beside her. They both looked furious. You can't do this, Helen said. You can't just take her. I absolutely can. She's my daughter. I adjusted Lily on my hip. And unless you want to explain to a judge why you threw a mother out in a blizzard on Christmas Eve, I suggest you don't try to stop me. Sean stepped forward. You're making a huge mistake. You think you're so smart with your little property deed discovery. Tyler will divorce you. You'll get nothing. I'll get half of everything we've built together, including this house. I looked at Helen. You have 30 days to decide if you want to work with me or against me. If you want to stay in this house, you'll need to sign a rental agreement. Fair market rate. Or I can force a sale and take my half of the proceeds. Your choice. You're insane, Helen spat. Robert would be ashamed of you. Robert would be ashamed of all of you. He was a kind man who treated me with respect. Unlike his widow and children. Open the front door. The snow had stopped, and the morning was bright and clear. Merry Christmas, everyone. Enjoy your day. I walked out with my daughter in my arms and my head held high. Of course it wasn't that simple. Nothing ever is. My car was still undrivable with slashed tires. But one of the neighbors, Mrs. Chen, who'd always been kind to me, saw me walking down the road with Lily and our suitcases and stopped to offer us a ride. Family troubles? She asked gently as she loaded our bags into her car. You could say that. Well, it's Christmas. You and your little one shouldn't be alone. Would you like to come to our house? We're having a big family dinner tonight. Plenty of room for 2 more. I almost cried at the kindness. Thank you, but I should get us to a hotel. Nonsense. The roads are still bad from the storm. You'll stay with us. At least for today. She patted my hand. My mother-in-law is terrible too. I understand. So Lily and I spent Christmas Day with the Chen family. 3 generations crammed into a warm, chaotic house filled with laughter and genuine love. They didn't ask questions. They just welcomed us, fed us until we couldn't eat another bite, and made Lily feel like she was part of their celebration. That night, after Lily fell asleep on Mrs. Chen's guest room bed, I finally got cell service back and checked my phone. 23 missed calls from Tyler. 15 text messages. 3 voicemails. I listened to the first voicemail. Hannah, please call me back. Mom is losing her mind. She's calling lawyers. She says you're trying to steal her house. Please, can we just talk about this rationally? Rationally. Like throwing me out in a blizzard was rational. I deleted it and listened to the second. Sean admitted he slashed your tires. He's apologized. Says he was drunk and stupid. Please, Hannah. Come back. Lily needs both her parents. And whose fault was it that Lily didn't have both her parents on Christmas? The third voicemail was different. Tyler was crying. I'm so sorry. I've been a terrible husband. I should have protected you. Should have stood up to my mother years ago. I don't know how to fix this, but I want to try. Please. Just tell me what you need. What I needed was a husband who didn't wait until I was walking out the door to realize he'd been failing me for years. I texted back. Lily and I are safe. We're staying with friends tonight. Don't contact me again until you hear from my lawyer. Then I called the lawyer I'd been planning to call anyway. David Morrison, a family law specialist my sister had recommended months ago when I'd first started worrying about my marriage. Hannah. He sounded surprised. I wasn't expecting to hear from you on Christmas. Sorry to bother you, but I need to file for separation, possibly divorce. And I need to understand my property rights. I explained the situation, the house, the deed, Helen's life estate, everything. He listened carefully. Then he started laughing. "Oh, this is good. This is really good." "What do you mean?" "I mean you have all the leverage here. Your mother-in-law has been living in a house she doesn't own, probably assuming she'll stay there forever. But you can absolutely force a sale or demand fair market rent. And if Tyler wants to protect his mother's living situation, he'll have to negotiate with you. I don't want to be cruel. I just want to be treated with respect. Then let's use this as leverage to ensure you get exactly that. Here's what we're going to do. Turn on those notifications because what Hannah does next will show her in-laws exactly what happens when you underestimate the woman you've been treating like garbage for 3 years." David laid out the strategy. "First, we'd file for legal separation, not divorce. That kept my options open while protecting my rights. Second, we'd send a formal letter to Helen regarding the property, outlining her options. Sign a lease agreement at fair market rent, buy out my half of the house, or agree to sell the property and split the proceeds. Third, and this was the brilliant part, we'd make it clear that I was willing to be reasonable if certain conditions were met. Specifically, a formal apology from Helen and Sean, Tyler attending marriage counseling with me, and a binding agreement that they'd all treat me with respect going forward." "But what if Tyler refuses counseling?" "Yes. Then you proceed with the divorce and force the house sale. Either way, you're protected." David paused. "Hannah, I want you to understand something. You have all the power here. Your mother-in-law threw you out of a house you legally own. That's not just cruel, it's stupid. She has no legal leg to stand on." The next morning, David sent the letter. By noon, my phone was ringing off the hook. Taylor, Helen, even Sean. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I spent the day with Lily at the Chen family's house, playing with toys and eating leftover Christmas cookies. Mrs. Chen's granddaughter, who was close to Lily's age, became instant best friends with her. It was the most peaceful I'd felt in years. That evening, Tyler showed up at the Chen house. Mrs. Chen answered the door, took one look at him and said, "If you're here to cause trouble, you can leave right now. I just want to talk to my wife. Please." 5 minutes. Mrs. Chen looked back at me. He nodded. "It's okay. I'll talk to him." We sat on the front porch, the winter air cold and clear. Tyler looked exhausted. "I got the letter from your lawyer," he said. "Good. Hannah, you can't seriously be asking my mother to pay rent. That house has been her home for 40 years. And for 3 of those years I've been part owner. Did you know that, Tyler? Did you know that when your mother was criticizing everything I did, every choice I made, every word I said, she was doing it while living in a house that belonged to me? It belongs to both of us. Then treat me like a partner instead of a burden." I pulled my coat tighter. "Your mother called me a charity case, Tyler. In front of the whole family. Said I was lucky you'd married me despite my background. And you said nothing. Sean made jokes about my job, about my childhood, about my worth as a person. And you said nothing. When was the last time you stood up for me? When was the last time you made me feel like I mattered to you? You do matter to me. Then prove it. Not with words. With actions." I stood up. "I'm willing to go to marriage counseling. I'm willing to give this marriage a chance. But only if you're willing to set boundaries with your family. Real boundaries. The kind that mean something." "What kind of boundaries?" "The kind where you tell your mother that if she can't respect your wife, she's not welcome in our lives. The kind where you tell Sean that his cruelty isn't funny, it's abusive. The kind where you choose me over them. Every single time." Tyler was quiet for a long moment. "She's my mother. I can't just cut her off." "I'm not asking you to cut her off. I'm asking you to prioritize your marriage over her feelings. There's a difference." I headed toward the door. "Think about it. You have until New Year's to decide. Either we go to counseling and you set boundaries with your family, or I file for divorce and we sell the house. Your choice." "Hannah, wait. That's all I have to say, Tyler. The rest is up to you." I went inside, leaving him standing on the porch in the cold. The next few days were tense. Tyler tried calling but I didn't answer. Helen left increasingly angry voicemails about how I was tearing the family apart. Sean sent a text that was so nasty I forwarded it directly to my lawyer. But I also received an unexpected message. From Robert's sister Diane, who I'd always gotten along with but rarely saw. Hannah, I heard about what happened on Christmas Eve. I'm appalled by how Helen treated you. Robert would be furious. If you need anything, a place to stay, someone to talk to, testimony about the property deed, please let me know. You're family to me, and you don't deserve this. That message made me cry more than anything else. Because it reminded me that not everyone in Tyler's family was toxic. Just the ones he'd allowed to control him. On December 30th, Tyler showed up at the hotel where Lily and I had moved. He looked different. Determined. I've been thinking about what you said. About boundaries. About choosing you. He handed me a piece of paper. I wrote this letter to my mother. I want you to read it before I send it. I read it. It was perfect. Clear, firm, loving but honest. He told Helen that her behavior on Christmas Eve was unacceptable. That she owed me an apology. That if she wanted to remain part of his life and Lily's life, she needed to treat me with respect. And that he was choosing his marriage over her comfort. This is good, I said quietly. But words on paper are easy. Following through is hard. I know. That's why I already sent it. He showed me his phone. 2 hours ago. She's called 15 times. I haven't answered. Tyler. I also told Sean that if he ever speaks to you that way again, he's not welcome around Lily. Family or not. He took my hands. I've been a coward, Hannah. I've let them treat you terribly because it was easier than standing up to them. But I'm done. I'm choosing you. I'm choosing us. I'm choosing to be the husband you deserve. Words are nice. But I need to see it in action. Then come to counseling with me. Let me prove it to you. Please. I looked at this man I'd married. This man who'd let me down so many times. This man who was finally, maybe, starting to understand what it meant to be a partner. Okay, I said. We'll try counseling. But Tyler, if you backslide, if you let your mother or Sean or anyone else treat me badly and you don't stand up for me, I'm done. I won't give you another chance. I understand. And I won't let you down again. We started counseling in January. It was hard. Tyler had to confront a lot of things about himself. His conflict avoidance, his need for his mother's approval, his failure to protect me. I had to confront my own issues too. Why I'd accepted bad treatment for so long, why I'd made myself small to fit into his family. But slowly things started to change. Tyler started saying no to his mother. Started defending me. Started choosing our family over her demands. Helen did not take it well. She called me names. Threatened to sue. Told Tyler he was ruining his life. But Tyler held firm. And eventually, she realized she had 2 choices. Accept the new boundaries or lose her son and granddaughter. He chose acceptance. Barely. But it was enough. In March, we signed a formal lease agreement. Helen would pay fair market rent to live in the house. $2,500 a month, which was actually below market rate but still significant. She complained bitterly but signed. The alternative was worse. Sean apologized too, though I could tell it wasn't sincere. But I didn't care. I didn't need his genuine remorse. I just needed him to leave me alone. Which he did. And Tyler and we rebuilt. Slowly. Took months of counseling, hundreds of difficult conversations, and a lot of tears. But we did it. The following Christmas was different. We spent it at our own apartment. Tyler and I had decided to move out of his mother's house entirely and find our own place. Helen was invited for Christmas dinner, but only for a few hours. And when she started to make a snide comment about the meal I'd cooked, Tyler immediately shut it down. Mom, we talked about this. If you can't say something kind, don't say anything at all. She pressed her lips together and stayed quiet. It was a small victory, but it meant everything. Later that night, after Lily was asleep and Helen had gone home, Tyler and I sat by our small Christmas tree. Last year at this time, you were sleeping in my dad's garage, he said quietly. Because my family threw you out. Because I let them. But you changed. We changed. I almost lost you. Almost lost everything. He took my hand. Thank you for giving me another chance. For fighting for us even when I didn't deserve it. Thank you for finally standing up. For finally choosing me. We sat there in the glow of the Christmas lights. Two people who'd almost destroyed their marriage but had fought to save it instead. Was it perfect? No. Did Helen still make passive-aggressive comments sometimes? Yes. Did I still have moments of anger about that Christmas Eve? Absolutely. But we were healing. Building something new. Something stronger. And every month when Helen's rent check arrived, it was a small reminder. I was no longer the woman who could be kicked out of her own house. I was no longer the woman who accepted disrespect to keep the peace. I was the woman who owned half the house. Who knew her worth. Who demanded to be treated with dignity. And that made all the difference. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe to Crazy Stories Library. Share your own stories of standing up for yourself during the holidays in the comments. Remember, you teach people how to treat you. If you accept disrespect, it will continue. But when you stand up, know your worth, and demand better, things can change. It won't be easy. It won't be comfortable. But you deserve to be treated with respect. Especially by the people who claim to love you. 2 years after that terrible Christmas Eve, Lily and I were baking cookies when she asked me a question. Mommy, why don't we live at Grandma's house anymore? I thought about how to answer. She was 5 now, old enough to understand some things but too young for the whole truth. Because Daddy and I wanted to have our own special place. Just for us. But Grandma's house is so big. And it has the pretty garden. It is pretty. But sometimes it's better to have a smaller place that's all yours than a big place where you don't feel at home. I helped her cut out a star-shaped cookie. Do you remember that Christmas when we stayed with Mrs. Chen's family? The nice grandma with the granddaughter who let me play with her dolls? That's right. We weren't at Grandma Helen's house that Christmas. We were somewhere else. And even though it wasn't our house, we felt welcome there. We felt loved. I looked at her. That's what makes a home, sweetheart. Not how big it is or how fancy. But whether the people there make you feel loved. She considered this while pressing the cookie cutter into dough. Do I make our home feel loved? You make it perfect. Later that evening, Tyler came home from work and found us covered in flour, cookies cooling on every available surface. I see you two have been busy, he said, laughing. Lily decided we needed cookies for everyone. Including Grandma Helen. Including Grandma Helen. He raised an eyebrow. She said everyone deserves Christmas cookies. Even people who aren't always nice. Smiled. She's a better person than all of us. Tyler picked up Lily, spinning her around until she shrieked with laughter. She gets that from her mom. That weekend we delivered cookies to Helen's house. The house I still owned half of, the house she still paid rent to live in. She answered the door in her usual elegant outfit. Her expression guarded. Lily made you Christmas cookies, I said, handing her the tin. She wanted to make sure you had some. Helen's expression softened as she looked at her granddaughter. That's very sweet, Lily. Thank you. Mommy says everyone deserves cookies at Christmas, Lily announced. Even people who aren't always nice. Helen's eyes widened. Tyler coughed to cover a laugh. Kept my face neutral. Well, Helen said slowly. Your mommy is very wise. Would you like to come in for hot chocolate? We stayed for an hour. Helen was on her best behavior. No snide comments. No passive aggression. Just a grandmother enjoying time with her granddaughter. As we were leaving, Helen walked us to the door. Hannah, she said quietly. I know I've never properly apologized for Christmas Eve 2 years ago. For throwing you out. For everything. Waited. I was cruel. I was wrong. And I'm sorry. She looked down. I thought you weren't good enough for Tyler. Thought you came from nothing and would drag him down. But I was wrong about that too. You've made him better. Made him stronger. And you've been a wonderful mother to Lily. It wasn't a perfect apology. It didn't erase years of subtle cruelty and outright disrespect. But it was honest. And for Helen it was huge. "Thank you," I said. "That means a lot. I'll never be the warm, fuzzy mother-in-law who's your best friend. That's not who I am." She straightened her shoulders. "But I can be respectful, can be kind, and I can acknowledge when I'm wrong. I'm trying to do better. That's all anyone can ask for." Driving home, Tyler reached over and squeezed my hand. "I'm proud of you. For accepting her apology. For not holding a grudge." "I'm not holding a grudge. But I'm also not forgetting what happened." I looked out at the snow-covered streets, twinkling with Christmas lights. "She threw me out in a blizzard, Tyler. That's not something you just get over. But I can forgive without forgetting. I can move forward without pretending the past didn't happen. That's fair. And if she ever crosses that line again, if she ever treats me that way again, she'll find out exactly how unforgiving I can be." Tyler smiled. "Remind me never to cross you." "Too late. You already did. But you earned your way back." I kissed his hand. "Just don't do it again." "I won't. I promise." 3 years after that Christmas Eve, Helen's health started failing. She had a heart attack, mild but scary. Tyler and I talked about what to do. "She can't live alone anymore," he said. "She needs help. Needs someone there in case something happens again." "So what are you thinking?" "Hiring a nurse. Moving her to assisted living." "I'm thinking maybe she could move in with us?" I stared at him. "Are you serious?" "I know it's a lot to ask. I know she's put you through hell. But she's my mom. And she's trying. She really is." He took my hands. "But I won't do it without your blessing. If you say no, we'll figure out another solution." Thought about it. About that Christmas Eve. About the garage. About everything that had happened since. If she moves in, we set ground rules. Clear boundaries. She pays rent. She contributes to groceries. She respects our parenting choices with Lily. And the second she crosses a line, she's out. No second chances. Deal? And Tyler, I need you to understand something. I'm doing this because you've earned my trust back. Because you've proven you'll stand up for me. But if that changes, if you fall back into old patterns, this whole arrangement is off. I understand. And I won't let you down." Helen moved into our guest room in April. It was awkward at first. Old tensions bubbled up. But slowly, carefully, we found a rhythm. Helen helped with Lily after school. I helped Helen with her medications and doctor's appointments. Tyler mediated when things got tense. It wasn't perfect, but it was functional. And sometimes that's enough. One evening, I was helping Helen organize her medications when she said something that surprised me. "I was jealous of you, you know. When Tyler first brought you home." I looked up. "Jealous? Robert was so taken with you. Said you reminded him of his sister. Kind, smart, didn't care about money or status. He loved that about you." She smiled sadly. And I realized that I'd raised children who valued the wrong things. Who judged people by their bank accounts instead of their character. And here you were, this girl with nothing, who had everything that mattered. I didn't have nothing. I had foster parents who loved me. Teachers who believed in me. A social worker who changed my life. You had character, strength, things I'd failed to instill in my own children. She looked at me directly. "That's why I was so cruel to you. Because you were a mirror showing me my own failures. And I couldn't stand it." "Helen, I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to explain." She closed the pill organizer. "You're a better woman than I ever was. And Lily is lucky to have you as her mother." I didn't know what to say to that. So I just squeezed her hand. Helen passed away 2 years later, peacefully in her sleep, with her family around her. At her funeral, Sean gave a eulogy about what a wonderful mother she'd been. Tyler talked about her strength and grace. When it was my turn to speak, I told the truth. Helen and I had a complicated relationship. We didn't always see eye to eye. We hurt each other. But in the end, we found a way to coexist with respect and, eventually, love. She taught me that people can change. That it's never too late to apologize. That family is messy and imperfect, but still worth fighting for. After the service, several people came up to me. "I heard about what happened that Christmas Eve years ago," one of Helen's friends said. "I heard she threw you out and you ended up owning half her house. Is that true?" "It's true. And you still took care of her at the end. Let her live with you." "I did." "Why?" "After everything she did." I thought about that Christmas Eve. About the garage. About the property deed. About everything that had come after. 'Cause she was family. And because holding on to anger would have hurt me more than it hurt her. Chose peace. Chose healing. And I chose to believe that people, even difficult people, deserve grace. The woman shook her head in wonder. "You're a better person than most." "No. I just decided that my worth wasn't determined by how others treated me. It was determined by how I chose to respond." Years later, Lily, now in college, asked me about that Christmas Eve. She'd heard bits and pieces over the years but wanted to know the whole story. I told her everything. The dinner. The garage. The property deed. The separation. The counseling. All of it. "I can't believe Grandma did that to you," she said, angry on my behalf. "Your grandmother was complicated. She'd been hurt in her own life, and she passed that hurt on to others. But she also changed. Became better. Smiled. People aren't all good or all bad, Lily. They're complicated. And sometimes the people who hurt us most are also the people who teach us the most important lessons." "What lesson did Grandma Helen teach you?" "That I'm stronger than I thought. That I deserve respect. And that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stand up for yourself, even when everyone tells you you're wrong for doing it." "I love that." Lily hugged me. "You're kind of a badass, Mom." "Language." "You are though. Grandma threw you out in a blizzard, and you ended up owning her house. That's epic. That's just understanding property law and standing up for yourself. Same thing. Maybe it was. Maybe knowing your worth, understanding your rights, and refusing to accept disrespect was exactly the kind of epic the world needed more of." That Christmas, now more than a decade after that terrible Christmas Eve, Tyler and I hosted dinner at our house. Lily came home from college. Sean and his new wife joined us. He'd mellowed significantly with age and therapy. Even some of Helen's old friends came by. As we sat around the table, I looked at the family we'd built. Imperfect, messy, complicated, but real. Built on honesty instead of pretense. On respect instead of obligation. On choice instead of default. "I'd like to make a toast," Tyler said, raising his glass. "To second chances. To growth. To families that choose to be better. And to my wife, who taught all of us what real strength looks like." Everyone raised their glasses. "To Hannah." I raised mine too. "To all of us. For choosing healing over hurt. For choosing growth over grudges. And for proving that even the worst Christmas Eve can lead to the best Christmases to come." We drank. We laughed. We told stories. Even about that Christmas Eve, which had become part of our family mythology. And later, when everyone had gone and Tyler and I were cleaning up, he wrapped his arms around me from behind. "Do you ever regret giving me another chance? Giving us another chance? Sometimes I regret how hard it was. How much pain we both caused each other. But I don't regret where we ended up." I turned in his arms. "We're better now than we ever were before. Stronger. More honest. More real. Because you refused to accept less than you deserved. Because we both decided our marriage was worth fighting for." He kissed me soft and sweet. "Merry Christmas, Hannah." "Merry Christmas, Tyler." Outside, snow was beginning to fall, just like it had that terrible Christmas Eve so many years ago. But this time I was warm. Loved. Respected. This time I was home. And that made all the difference. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this story touched you, please share it. Subscribe to Crazy Stories Library for more tales of resilience, growth, and finding your power. Your worth is not negotiable. Your right to respect is not up for debate. And you are never wrong for standing up for yourself. Even when it's hard, even when people tell you you're overreacting, even when it would be easier to stay quiet. Stand up. Speak out. Know your worth. And have yourself a very Merry Christmas.